Welcome to Plot Twist Radio, the show where creativity, storytelling, and the unpredictable path of the creative life all collide. I'm your host, Erin Egnatz.
There are voices we grow up trusting, voices that guide us through the headlines, the moments, the history unfolding in real time. For years, one of those voices belonged to Mark McEwen. From CBS News to the biggest stages in the world, he interviewed presidents, icons, and legends, earning his place as one of the most trusted names in American journalism. But life has a way of rewriting even the most carefully crafted stories. In 2005, everything changed for Mark. A stroke, sudden, devastating, and nearly fatal, forced him into the fight of his life. And in that moment, the man who told the world's stories had to learn how to tell his own. This isn't just a story about loss. It's about resilience, reinvention, and finding purpose on the other side of everything you thought defined you. Hi, Mark. Welcome to Plot Twist Radio.
Hi, how are you?
I'm wonderful. And how about yourself?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Well, before we get going, can you introduce yourself to the audience for me?
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark McEwen. I was on national TV for 16 years as a weatherman on CBS This Morning. I also did all the entertainment. I went to the Grammys and the Oscars and the Golden Globe, the Country Music Awards, covered them for 16 years, and also did 3 Winter Olympics, Albertville in France, Nagano in Lillehammer in Norway, and Nagano in Japan, where I ran with the Olympic torch.
Wow, that's incredible. That had to be quite the experience.
You know, can you say cry? I was like, this is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
It was wonderful, wonderful.
I love that. So you, like you said, you've interviewed presidents, icons, and legends, but the most important story you've ever had to tell was your own.
Yeah.
What did that moment teach you about who you really are?
Oh, God. I came to the table being a stroke survivor. And so my stroke was awful. Coma for 2 days, intensive care for a week, hospital for a month, rehab for a year. I had to learn to walk and talk again. And even now, my stroke affected my dominant side of my right hand. This hand shakes. So I have to do everything left hand. I write left hand. I put my contacts in left hand. I shave left hand. And here's the thing. I didn't say to myself, one day I'll be ambidextrous. No. I was practicing writing and my writing was squiggly and awful. I thought, I'm going to try this left hand. So I write left-handed now. But I tell people, as you get older, everyone has something. And so what you can't do is turn around and walk away. Can't do. You have to put your dukes up and fight back. Because as far as I know, you're here one time. And your one time, you don't get, I don't know, you don't get a second chance. So that's the deal. That's the deal. Fight back.
There you go. Strong words. And you know what? They're very important. There is not enough out there about strokes and stroke survivors. I used to work in healthcare and, my stroke patients, they were always looking for that hope, because as you know, it is a long journey. So it's great that you're out there and you're able to be on the other side and show what can happen after.
Well, I'm in the final stages of my second book. The first one was called Changing the Weather, and it was more about stroke. This is snapshots, my time at CBS. It's me with Denzel Washington, pictures. And then in the chapter that follows, I tell you a story that you may not have heard before. Leonardo DiCaprio, I did his first national interview. I have stories about that and a picture with me of Robert De Niro, of all people. It goes on. And I was on Jeopardy. There's a chapter about that. There's a chapter about Willard Scott. There's and being a weatherman, my family, my parents, the kids, my siblings. It goes on and on. We're right at the tail end of all that. We have a publisher, should be out probably early next year.
Now that is going to be an interesting read. I can't wait for that one. But let's explore a little bit of your CBS time, shall we?
Sure.
All right. So you joined back in 1987, correct?
I was a rock and roll DJ on the radio, playing what kids today call classic rock. We called it rock and roll. Journey, AC/DC, Zeppelin, the Beatles, the Stones, all that. Baltimore, Detroit, Chicago, New York. I got fired twice in New York. Everyone in radio has a story about getting fired because it happens all the time. So I was in the Daily News, New York Daily News. There was a picture, and it turned out the new executive producer of the news show that CBS was going to put on, the morning program, saw that and said, "I think I found my weatherman." So I go down to Black Rock. I had one suit, and I had no idea what. Oh, the station that had fired me said a producer from CBS called. Here's his number, and I thought. CBS, I thought CBS FM. That's an oldies radio station. I didn't want to play oldies, but I didn't have a job. And I thought, a producer, one of their producers, you're lucky in radio if you have a producer, not one of them. So we're talking, he's nice as he could be. And finally he says, and since we're going up against GMA and the Today Show, and I say, "Oh, no, is this TV?" He says, "Yeah. Are you interested?" I go, "Yeah." So I go down and I'm sitting there with Bob Shanks. And he's asking me what I think are junk questions. Are you a Yankee fan? Are you a Mets fan? Do you have brothers and sisters? Turns out he was sizing me up. And then he said the thing that changed everything. How do you feel about doing the weather? I thought I could care less about doing the weather. But at that level, you don't say no. So I said, "I can do it." "Sure, you could." He said, "We're going to have one audition. Is there something I can ask you that can lead you into your comedy?" I used to do stand-up comedy. I always said I was so funny at comedy, I ended up in news. That's how funny I was. So he asked me where I went on vacation recently. And he says, "Okay, also, when you leave, don't tell anyone about this meeting." I said, "Okay." Aaron, I went downstairs and told everyone. That's what I could think of. So now I'm in the studio, packed studio of CBS people. Bob Shanks is standing next to a camera. And he says, "I'm going to ask you some questions, answer into the camera." I said, "Okay." So this and that, and then here it comes. Where'd you go on vacation recently? And I say, "Jamaica." Everyone in Jamaica has an accent. "Where are you from, Mom? Where are you going, Mom? What's your name, Mom?" I said, "Even the dogs. Bark, bark, Mom." Everyone laughed. That got me the job.
Wow.
I also say, if you say something funny in a room full of comedians, they may smile. You say something funny in a room full of news guys, they fall right on the floor.
I could see that. I love that. And, it worked out for you because you turned out to be named one of the most trusted news personalities. What does trust in journalism actually mean?
Well, Aaron, I'm very careful about not saying falsehoods. Um, I don't play gotcha. I don't do that. When I would interview people, I would say, "Forget the cameras, forget the lights, talk to me." And so, and I will not hurt you. And so, gently, you can say things that are a bit different, but it's how you say them. That you don't do that. Don't do that. Plus, you have to do your homework, your research. Okay, I'll give you an example. A person going to interview Brad Pitt, and they write down their 10 questions, then they write them again. And here he comes and sits down, and he, they say, "Tell me about your latest project." And he says, "On the way over here, I bought an AK-47 and shot up a 7-Eleven." And they go, "Is it a comedy or a musical?" You have to listen. It's a conversation. And what they say can have you veer off and go down a road you didn't plan on. And that's where homework and research comes into play.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love your example. That is a perfect example. So, and it kind of leads me into my next question because you covered, like you said, you did the weather, but you also interviewed big names. What is the difference between covering news and weather versus culture and entertainment?
Hmm, good question. Well, as I said before, two things. You have to do your homework, and you can't be, that's Tom Cruise. You can't do that. Can't do that. They ask them questions, and airlines should live for them to say, no one's ever asked me that before. Cool. Cool. So, because of that, I got to be buds with John Travolta and Bono and Denzel and Halle Berry and all these people. But they, after a while, they see, back then, they didn't tell you what they were doing. You had to earn that. Now they'll talk to anyone who they wants to talk to them because they have a movie or an album or a book, whatever. That's the deal now.
Yes, for sure. So, was there one person that you sat across when you were doing an interview and realized, I can't believe this is happening?
One,
Yeah,
a
you have a
thousand.
list.
I'll tell you a story. I'm at the Grammys and we're backstage. U2 had played at the Grammys, and the stage is just chaos. And the publicists, there were booths, CNN, The Today Show, GMA, blah, blah, blah. And we were way down at the end because we were third in the rating. But the Grammys were on CBS. So here we are. And they are used to sending a producer to get someone. I would go do it myself. And so I went down. I see Bono. And I said, can you talk to me? He says, I know you. And what happened was the year before at the Grammys, he had inducted Frank Sinatra into the Grammy Hall of Fame. Well, I said, nice job. He remembered. So here comes U2 and the one CNN, the Today Show, and the publicist, when they're done, says, we're done. And Bono says, oh no, I have one more to do. And he comes to my booth, and I'm just crazy. I can't believe I bottle in my web. So I asked him, how come you never have done a solo record? And he said something I thought was great. See that table? Has four legs. Take one leg down, it falls down. That's U2. U2 is a tape, and we don't go in different directions. Okay, cool. Yeah. But yeah, you're sitting there thinking to yourself, "No, he can't, but you can't do that. You have to sit them down and thank you so much. They leave you. It was fun. It was fun.
Well, I can imagine. He's such a legend. He's one of those that I want to see in concert so bad. I just
Mhm.
haven't caught up to him yet.
Yep.
So in 2005, as we talked about a little bit earlier, everything changed for you. You went from anchoring television to fighting for your life. How do you even begin to process that?
Well, Ariel, I always say, if I had known how bad things were, it would change things. I thought having a stroke was like having the flu, or it would go away in a week to 10 days. Here it is 20 years later. I'm still dealing with the effects of that. Um, it happened to me on a plane. I went to Baltimore and I went through the checkpoint. All of a sudden, I couldn't walk right, and my leg felt funny. And I went by ambulance to a hospital, and I'm lying in bed. The doctor is looking me my name up on screen. And so, he let me go home. He thought I had the stomach flu. If he'd said stroke, we'd be having a different conversation. And I went home, and it was November. November is a sweeps month. A sweeps month, for those who don't know, you get ratings in February, September, November, but it's a sweeps month. And my news director said, stay as long as you need, but I could hear in his voice, come home as fast as you can. It was November November 15th. I got on a plane, 30,000 feet up. I had my stroke. And the flight attendants thought I had been drinking because I was like this coming off a plane. And I had the wherewithal to have a sky cat waiting for me. And he took me through our Orlando airport and left me curbside by myself. I was dying. And a guy in baggage claim came out to smoke a cigarette. I'd been trying to reach my wife on the phone, and he said, "You want me to take that phone?" I barely said yes. And my wife said, "No, I want." And so an ambulance came, and that's when the nurse, when I went to the ER, nurse said, "When did you first notice you were having a stroke?" I said, a couple days ago. And she went, "You learn that you have 3 hours. They have a medication they can give you that could help mitigate the stroke. Those 3 hours are long gone." And so there it was. And the hospital passed out. You wake up from a coma, and there's my dad, my brother, two of my sisters, my wife, and my best friend all standing around the bed that goes from, "This is great," to, "This can't be good."
Yeah.
Yeah. So here I am.
Wow. Just the fact that it was like error after error on a lot of people's parts. That's got to stick with you, I would imagine.
You know, I give all credit to my parents because they didn't say, one good, if I have a stroke, we'll do it this way. I had no idea when it was. All I knew was, but you do something to fight back. And that's the deal. That's the deal. And so I also say hope is a good word. When you have hope, the clouds are fluffier, the sky is bluer, the sun is brighter, and the birds chirp. It could be raining so hard you can't see across the street, but if you have hope, you don't care. Don't care. If you don't have hope, those same fluffy clouds, of blue sky, and all that don't mean nothing to you. So I preach hope. You have to have this thing in front of you that you have to go to. And also, moderation is a good word. If you had told me I could never eat chocolate chip cookies again, I would have eaten every one I could find. You can have them, you just can't have them every day because moderation is a good word in quite a few things. You can have things, but you have to be careful. You can't be hugely overweight and high blood pressure and you're eating ice cream. Can't do that. If you do that, good luck. Good luck. But you have to kind of pay attention. You have to pay.
Absolutely. Stay in tune with yourself, but your strength is so incredible. I mean, it's a truly inspirational story and it led you to write After the Stroke, My Journey Back to Life.
Right.
Was that writing process, did you find it healing in a way?
Well, a couple things. I had a ghostwriter for that book because I could barely talk. And in that book, people like Tony Bennett, my boy, my friend, I said to the ghostwriter, he wrote about him like People magazine would write about him. He's my friend. And so I said, I'll do this and don't change a word up. And he was like, "Mm." So the book, it was cathartic. I always say about 10 people bought that book. But, you know, you it was changing a bit because you were on the other side. At that time, I realized just how tough having a stroke was. I didn't know that. And coming through all that was cathartic.
Absolutely. So you've spoken across the country about stroke awareness. When you're on stage, what message do you most need people to walk away with?
Okay, let me tell you a couple of things. One, stroke is what I call a fevered brow kind of thing. If all you do is talk about fevered brow, you lose them. What you have to do, if you can talk about that, make them laugh. And then talk about it, make them laugh. Now you have them leaning forward because they have no idea what's coming next. Um, I remember last year I spoke in San Antonio at the 50th anniversary of rehab nurses. And I got up there and I said, before I begin, I have to say this. It's people like you who help people like me. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. That place went nuts because this is what they do. And they love to hear that what they're doing matters. It helps you. And to hear that from a guy, not a guy just off the street, a guy who had a stroke. Yeah. So the thing about hope and don't give up and all that, that's what I want them to leave with. And again, Aaron, as you get older, everyone has something. And it's good to hear you have hope and something to help you with that something.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. So, looking back now on the other side of it all, you've interviewed inspiring people, but now you're one of the inspiring people. Do you
Uh-huh.
see your legacy differently now than you did maybe back before the stroke?
You know, Aaron, as the saying goes, I don't know nothing. And so you're just kind of making things up as you go along. The message, Aaron, I've done a TED Talk, and that's in the TED Talk. I say, you can't, when life knocks you down, you can't turn around and walk. All you have to do is get. You don't have to put up your fists and get back into the fray. All you have to do is get up. And so that to many people sounds easier than I have to fight back and look. You learn things. I'll tell you a story. After my stroke, I rehab. I went to a place right next door to a rehab place, and in it was a woman with her husband. Her husband has had a stroke, and she said something I've never forgotten. She said, "He was always so good to me. It's my time to be."
Wow. That's so sweet. That's true love.
Yeah,
It
I agree.
is.
I agree.
It is. So you have a website. Can you tell the audience where they can find you and a little bit about the website?
Yes. My website is my name, markmcEwen.com, or you can also do markmcEwensworld.com. On the website, all kinds of things. There are videos of me being interviewed and TED talking and all that. And there's my blog. I run a blog. I've written a ton, and that's on there as well. Um, it's also my resume bio, all that. It's so goofy reading that. I think, did I do all that? It's just goofy. And but I'll say this: I have kids. I have a pair of twins and two daughters. Excuse me, and it's fun to be able to show them what they should do in life. One of my favorite lines is, "Character is what you do when no one's looking." I told that to my son. The little things like going to Publix, the grocery store with a cart, instead of leaving the cart behind the cart, looking to the where the carts are and put it in. That sounds small, but that's character. That's you do that, and I try to pass that on to them. So to answer your question, markmcEwen.com will take you to all kind. It has album, magazine covers, a picture of me speaking to Go Red with Women up in Anchorage, Alaska. I went to Alaska. I've been there twice. Lowest temperature, highest temperature in Anchorage, -9 degrees. And everyone's walking around with life jackets open. They're used to it. I'm walking around like the Michelin tire man. I have this huge coat and all that. So those stories are in there.
Love it. I have yet to make it to Alaska. I'm not a big cold fan. I live in Chicago, but I'm not a big cold fan. I want to be in Florida all the time. So
I used to be on the radio in Chicago. I used to live there. Believe
really, ah,
WNUT. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
no, I used to listen to that when I went back when radio was big. Now we all have XM or whatever it's called,
Right.
but I miss those old days of radio. The
Yeah.
DJs and everything. It was just so much more fun.
You know, I miss top 40 songs like I like peanut butter. You like peanut butter. Crunchy peanut butter. You don't hear songs like that anymore. The name game. Shirley. Shirley, Shirley, well, you don't hear that stuff. And I always say rap today has words in it that would have gotten my mouth washed out. So
Yes. Yes, me too. Absolutely. I'm one of those that listens to, I guess what they call the oldies now, it's like the 80s, 90s and stuff, but I love, the 60s and the 70s. I
yeah,
love that music. And my whole playlist, my Apple Music playlist is anything before like 2010.
right,
And,
right. I hear it. I hear it.
so, Mark, thank you so much for joining me. This has been a great conversation.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And you were great.
Thank you.